Good morning in Asia, and hello to all of you with whom I had a pleasure to meet during the AIS conference in Finland in 2019. I will just quickly share my screen. Okay. Hope you can hear me well. And today I will be presenting the importance of the agriculture innovation system perspective, particularly talking about capacity development for innovation, which goes beyond technology innovation, and it is applicable to any agriculture discipline, which includes aquaculture. And this is especially given the urgent need to address the complex issues that are faced by this agriculture innovation system, including the impact of climate change. So I will start this presentation with a story. In 2003, I was privileged to travel on my very first diplomatic mission ever. This was with IFAD, which took me to the fields of Bangladesh as part of a supervision mission of the IFAD-funded aquaculture development project. And as many of you know, since many years, IFAD has been supporting the generation and dissemination of agricultural technologies for poor farmers in Bangladesh, with a special emphasis on more marginal agro-ecosystems where poor rural people are particularly in need of assistance. And this includes aquaculture and fishery development as well. So in terms of how innovation was approached in this project, but also in other aquaculture projects at that time, was through the predominant technology transfer approach to aquaculture innovation with a farm level focus. 2003 was a long time ago, but I clearly remember, especially since it was my first time in a developing country and everything around me was very exciting, the word innovation was hardly mentioned at that time. Nevertheless, innovative technologies and especially a lot of non-technical innovation was there. It's just that rarely it was referred to as innovation at that time, explicitly. So now when I'm reflecting over that experience, while the understanding of innovation was largely in terms of upgrading the resource base through the rehabilitation of large water bodies and fish ponds, there were also other forms of innovation that were very visible. For example, there was social innovation. The project was empowering women to manage resources, natural resources, also create innovative income generating activities. There was also institutional innovation, especially establishing and strengthening community organizations to ensure that members have access to water bodies as well as markets to sell their produce. But also policy innovation. And this is something where IFAD really succeeded in persuading the government to lease water bodies directly to fisher groups that can use their new security of tenure to develop such areas and maximize their fishing capacity. But the key point I would like to make here is that a lot of innovative activities that made an impact, and this is particularly in terms of empowering women, building social capital, for example, through their training, in point aquaculture, were not included in the original project design. So just imagine the scale of impact if innovation management approaches with incorporated diverse non-technical innovation dimensions as well as processes were explicitly integrated in the project from the beginning. So such understanding is of course an important part of learning pathways which feeds into improved future project design, and IFAD has done very well in terms of its knowledge management and learning and taking it to scaling up and development of other improved projects. So based on this learning, I would like you to reflect what and how much has actually changed in the aquaculture innovation approaches during the past 15 years. And I'm not here to judge, and of course I will let the experts to judge, but maybe I can just pose a few questions that we can reflect on, whether the current aquaculture innovation management is sufficiently integrating, for example, feedback from technology innovation users, inclusiveness and system thinking to foster interactions among multiple actors that are part of the complex aquaculture innovation system, or whether it is sufficiently integrating institutional, political, economic, environmental, and sociocultural dimensions, the role of the private sector, as well as capacity for innovation. So to understand to what extent these elements have been integrated in aquaculture innovation approaches, but also to better understand the complexity of aquaculture innovation systems requires thinking from a system perspective. So as we know, innovation in agriculture is crucial to improve productivity, enhance livelihoods of small farmers, protect the environment. But aquaculture sectors also need to innovate, especially to meet the growing demand for fish, seafood, and especially in the context of many environmental challenges, including climate change. So this requires understanding the agriculture innovation systems and its structural and functional components within which different actors operate. So the Tropical Agriculture Platform Common Framework on Capacity Development for Agriculture Innovation System is promoting this integration of AIS thinking into development practice, which includes aquaculture. So this is an initiative which is driven by FAO, but includes a lot of different partners that are working together to bring this coherence in development. And this includes also APAARI. And this is especially since agriculture increasingly involves complex interactions among stakeholders at multiple levels, which requires a different set of skills, different approaches to bring this coherence into development and innovation processes in particular. So this can be also demonstrated by this AIS conceptual diagram, which shows the key actors that are part of the system. And as you can see, and also if you reflect a bit about on how agriculture innovation system actually, the thinking around innovation evolved, it is not just research and education that play a role in innovation processes, but it is a lot of other actors, businesses, enterprises, farmers themselves. But also there is an increasing role of bridging institutions, and especially, of course, enabling environment, which not just includes innovation policies, investments, agriculture policies, but also different informal institutions, practices, behaviors, and mindsets, as well as attitudes that are needed to strengthen the system. So when we think from this agriculture innovation system perspective about innovation, we don't just think about technologies such as improved breeding, but also others, but we also think about various processes, innovative processes or organizational form and institutional arrangements that are innovative, that need to innovate in order to bring improved technologies to those who need them most. And this includes processes such as public-private partnerships, organizing farmers into cooperatives, business and finance models, policies, capacity development, and various communication approaches. And largely, this agriculture innovation system implies development of capacities for innovation, which we call functional capacities. And these are very important because they lead, and actually we have a lot of evidence that shows that these capacities really are leading to improved partnerships, network building, reflection and joint learning, co-creation of knowledge, facilitation and brokerage, but also facilitative leadership, as well as documentation of change processes and knowledge management. So what are these functional capacities? These are actually non-technical knowledge, attitudes, and behaviors that are needed to successfully apply and coordinate technical capacities to achieve long-term development outcomes. So the TAP Common Framework has identified 4 such capacities that lead to another capacity for innovation, and these are capacity to navigate complexity, capacity to collaborate, capacity to reflect and learn, capacity to engage in strategic and political processes that lead to capacity to adapt and respond in order to realize the potential of innovation. But of course, we also need a combination of broad and deep expertise, particularly in the capacities of researchers and scientists. And this is absolutely crucial to address the complexity from a multidimensional perspective, using interdisciplinary research and extension that leads to impact. And this is also one area that APAARI is focusing on in its work with researchers and scientists. So we really believe that these kind of qualities need to be in place in order to deliver better impact and strengthening of this agriculture innovation system. So it's not just excellent knowledge of and skills in specific areas, but it's also these functional capacities or abilities to work at a broader level, collaborate with others, reflect and learn, etc. So what makes innovation happen? The type of common framework recognizes 3 dimensions for effective capacity development. And these are applicable to all technical disciplines of agriculture. They are interdependent and they must be addressed together to bring impact in order to be effective. So for example, you cannot just build capacity at individual level without addressing organizational level and enabling environment. These capacities need to be built together simultaneously, since they are all affecting each other in many complex ways. And of course, I need to mention here a very important role of facilitation and knowledge management. So here we need to think about really going beyond conventional tasks of communication and information sharing, and also include the fostering of synergies between these different actors, enhancing their capacity for collective decision-making, with a very important role of facilitation. Facilitation is a skill that really enhances interaction and relationships of individuals, organizations, their social, cultural, and political structures through a process of network building, social learning, and negotiation. And this is important, particularly as it's really building trust, which then helps in overcoming resistance to change. And facilitation requires specialized skills of individuals who act as mediators in complex situations. And what we increasingly see that is not just kind of bridging organizations that need to have these kind of skills, but increasingly these are required also in science, in research, and also like in the role of extension agents. So we need to go a little bit more beyond this conventional role and go that extra mile to facilitate skills, to facilitate knowledge sharing, learning, knowledge co-creation, etc. And especially it means, of course, supporting learning processes, enabling individuals to reflect on their experiences, to document and share knowledge. We need to be able to these facilitation skills to encourage critical thinking, challenge existing assumptions and preconditions. And this is my last slide to talk a little bit how APAARI can work with AIS in the future. So APAARI has been applying this approach I have just presented in many different disciplines. So for example, international trade, we have a project on pesticide mitigation. We're also applying in policy and agriculture education. And this is mainly through blending technical and functional capacities for innovation. So APAARI will be happy to provide such consultancy also within this important innovation network, but also jointly scope for new collaborative projects and initiatives that build the capacity of these different actors in integrating systemic innovation approaches in their work. And another area is also really the need to advocate for smarter investments in agriculture innovation, which includes non-technical innovation as well. And we really believe that through this network, AIIS, we can jointly influence the shift from this linear technology transfer model to a more involvement, of multi-actors in innovation management and knowledge creation in Asia and the Pacific. So I will stop here. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you would like to learn more about some of these concepts that I have just presented, please visit the link which I'm showing on the slides. So thank you very much.